Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Leadership Launchpad's Pick and Mix podcast. And oh, wow, what a guest we have got today. For those that are only listening, I feel sorry for you because you haven't already got to see who it is. And so I'll build the suspense a little bit more. But someone who's become, is becoming a friend of mine, actually, someone that I've admired from afar and has secretly, I think, given me more confidence than I deserve to have or had. And so, without further ado, Diana Osagie's here to talk to us today. And I guess we'll get started, Diana, by just asking, tell us a bit about you, your journey, what you do now, but how did you get to that point?
Well, thanks for having me on. It's great to be here. What do I do now? My goodness, I do keynote speaking on courageous leadership and all that it entails to run an organization with a heart of courage. I write books. I've written 4 leadership books, and I'm writing my 5th this summer. I train and coach head teachers. I train and coach senior leadership teams, and I run the Academy of Women's Leadership. So those are the 5
Busy
daily
then?
things I do, between eating and eating. But there's lots of other things as well. But those are the 5 pillars of what I do now.
Okay.
But where did that all come from? So humble beginnings. Girl, Nigerian parents on a estate in South London. I grew up in Camberwell, which is between Peckham and Brixton. It's the posh bit in between, as we used to say. And I grew up in a council estate that was full of love, but full of poverty. So with a poverty of circumstance, for sure. I used to wear my mum's shoes to school because there wasn't enough money to have everyone to have their own pair.
Wow.
Um, yeah, for sure. Poverty of circumstance, but not a poverty of expectation.
Love it.
There was never a doubt, never an inkling of a doubt that I would not go to university. Just it was never on the car. Go and get a job was just not something that was said in our house. You went to university. I was the firstborn, so I had to go. You went to university. You got a fantabulous career. You changed the world, and then you're allowed to have your own life. This was the expectation.
I love it.
And when I failed my A levels,
Oh,
that was a moment when my parents got the results of my A levels, and it kicked off. My mum rang everyone in Nigeria that Diana has failed. It was news. So all these calls, Diana, how could you fail? Why did you fail? Why did you do that? As though it was like my fault or that I did it on purpose. I had a place to read medicine. I had a place to become a doctor at
right.
UCL. I only needed to get 3 C's, 3 grade C's at A level. I got 2 U's and an N. I
Oh,
mean, I
wow.
was so far off, right? So I didn't fail, I flopped.
Yeah.
So my parents made me go back to college and do my A levels again, and I got 3 D's.
Okay.
My dad was like, "You are doing this on purpose to try and get out of university. You are going to university. Start applying now through whatever that clearing thing is.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
yourself out of the house and go to university." So I did. I applied Wolverhampton Polytechnic. So
Right.
your view might be too young to know. In those days, had the books are like you had universities and you had polytechnics. Polytechnics were the poor cousin.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought they were fantastic, but it was, apparently you went to Polytechnic if you couldn't get into university.
Right.
I went to Wolverhampton Polytechnic. It changed to become a university the year later, so I was happy. And I got a degree in biomedical science. It's the nearest thing to medicine I could get.
Yep. Yep.
The final year of my degree, it was like, what are you going to do now? I was reading The New Scientist, which is a
Yeah.
geeky publication. And in the back of it was an advert for SCIT, School Centered Initial Teacher Training. I just went, yep, applied, missed the dates, but so I had to work for a year in a shoe shop, got onto the course the next year. And I became, after a year of teaching and training, I became a science teacher.
Wow.
And that's where it started. It was literally reading the New Scientist one day,
Yeah.
and there it was. There were no teachers as such in my family. There was no history of that in my family. So I was the first, if you like, and that's how it began. That is how it began. Yeah. So
That's great.
taught
And
science for 3 years.
yeah,
Bang. Here
yeah. And along the way, middle leadership, senior leadership, headship.
I did. I did 3 years teaching science at a boys' school in Newham, and I thought it's time for promotion. I got a job as a head of year
Right.
in school in New Cross, because in that school in Newham, I went to the head teacher and I said, I'd like to apply for promotion. There's a head of year 7 post coming up. And he said to me, no. Just like that. No, that job is not for you. Please don't apply. It won't be considered.
Wow.
Why don't you go and help Mr. Talon, who was the Senko? Go and help him. Tell him I sent you. Diana, totally naive,
Yeah.
went along to Talon and said, the head teacher's told me to come and help you. Apparently you need help with something. I'm here. He went, oh, come in. And this was a thing that teachers who wanted promotion that were not going to get it got dumped in the Senko department. I didn't know. Mr. Talon, who was very kind to me, did know, and he took me in. I was rubbish at SEND. So bad, right? I had no empathy or talent in that area at all. But I got a job as a head of year somewhere else, and I left. I did that head of year post for 18 months. It was 18 months of hell.
Right.
Not hell as in my profession, but hell in my entire life. I've not seen a school like that. It was feral on a good day. It was that bad. Schools rarely closed down. This school closed down. It was irredeemable. Is that a word? Irredeemable?
Yes, yeah.
There was no saving it, right? It closed down, and the children were dispersed to other schools around the borough as it just closed down. It was that bad. But I left that head of year job after 18 months, and I got a job as a deputy head. So I missed what we would call assistant head. We called it senior teacher back in the day.
Right.
It's now called assistant head. So I went straight from a head of year to deputy. And I became deputy head of a school in North London. So I was 27, 28.
Okay.
Baby. Secondary. Yeah. So I was now the deputy head over people who had been teaching longer than I'd been alive. So I'm this bolshy cow from South London.
Yeah.
And teachers were not having it. Who are you? I mean, it was a legitimate question, to be honest. And I stayed, and I was the deputy for 10 years. Key stage 3 for 5, key stage 4 for 5, and I became the head in September 2010.
Wow. What a story. Now, before we go any further, because my working memory is terrible, but I've been desperately trying to hold on to that phrase that you flippantly, quite casually dropped in at the beginning around, and you'll have to help me out with this. It was something around, there was poverty, but not a poverty of aspiration.
What's the poverty of circumstance?
Yeah.
So food was limited when I was young. It was what it was. Resources were limited. However, the expectation was not limited by my circumstance. My parents were adamant about that. Thankfully, my school partnered with my parents to make aspiration a reality. Because you can have aspirations, but they go nowhere.
Yeah.
So I had a head teacher, Mrs. Zakowicz, her name was. She was a Polish lady. She was 4'9", 4'9" tall and 4 foot wide. She was like a little round ball. And she had long skirts. And I swear she was on wheels, because she would just come rolling around the corridor and catch you when you're being naughty. But she had such fire in her, such resolve to make sure and it was a girls' school. There were 1,500 girls.
Wow.
So we were a boiling pot of estrogen, you know. The guy fast you got pregnant. We were strong women. And Mrs. Zakowicz made sure that we had what was available on the market, curriculum, whatever we needed to make sure we got through. So we had these huge rooms of typing pools, because that's what girls
Right.
did in those days. We had great big typing pools and huge rooms for home economics and for textiles. Not one computer in the whole school, not one for the girls.
Right.
But the boys' school down the road had computers. So she
Yeah.
put Key Stage 4 girls in taxis to go
Really?
to the boys' school, do something on the computers, and then taxi us back.
Love
That's the
it.
kind of woman she was.
That's the kind of,
She
yeah.
partnered with our future. Does
Yeah.
that make sense? So I had parents who were expecting everything. The fact that you're wearing your mum's shoes is nothing to do with anything. Just be excellent. I've got a
Amazing.
school that will do it for me as well. I had no choice. There was
What a,
no
yeah.
mediocrity. It wasn't allowed. It wasn't allowed in
What
my
a
house.
combination.
Yeah,
I mean, that is,
that's what happened.
that's incredible. And I mean, that's a podcast episode in itself, but wow, what a great way to start. And what a great message maybe for leaders to send to their students, this idea that we may have a poverty of resources, but we do not have a poverty of expectations or aspirations. Wow. Well, we'll get stuck into it now then. If you're new to the podcast, we have a sort of series of set elements that make up the podcast, and the guests get to choose certain things which give us as listeners an insight into them as leaders rather than what we see on the surface, the books, the podcasts, all the show. And so the first question that Diana's chosen is, if you could wake up tomorrow having gained any one quality or ability, what would it be? Now, surely there's no gaps in Diana Osagie.
There's gaps. The quality that I would love to have, that I wouldn't have to work on it was just naturally within me, is I would love to be able to not break promises to myself.
Okay.
I keep promises to people without reckoning on the price that it's going to cost me. If
Sure.
I've said to you, I'm going to support you, I'm going to do that. If I've said to you, I'm going to give you the resources, I'm going to be there for you, I will not break my promise. But to myself, I break promises in a heartbeat.
Right.
Diana, tomorrow you're going to go to the gym. Tomorrow comes. It's raining.
Yeah.
Now, if you had said to me, Diana, would you do this podcast tomorrow? And I've said yes.
Yeah.
It's raining. It's not going to stop me.
No.
Do you know what I mean? But I will break the promise to myself because of the weather.
Yeah.
Diana, you're going to take care of your physical body. You're going to eat well, do yoga, eat alfalfa beans, whatever it is you're supposed to eat, wheatgrass juice. Tomorrow comes and I see an advert for KFC.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love KFC.
What do? I break the promise to myself easily. Diana, you're going to write a book this year? Yeah. What month are we in now? July. Have I started? No.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
I almost harass myself and break promises to myself, but I will keep a promise to a stranger.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
To a stranger without counting the cost of it, because I've given you my word, so I'll be there. I'll do it. I'll give it. I'll supply it. But to myself, that's a superpower I would love to have.
And I think that'll resonate with so many people because, I mean, I suppose it's part of being a good leader is that you do, put yourself behind other people. But like you say, if it's at the detriment of yourself, it's probably, it's a diminishing returns, isn't it? You'll get to a point where you can no longer give to other people because you haven't been giving to yourself. That's interesting. I think that at the moment, I was going to say that we're in a tricky place, aren't we? I mean, I lead, as people know, like PD across a trust of 35 schools, and I think we're in a tricky place where staff are seeing their own professional development as something that can be sidelined ahead of marking books or moderating this or doing that. It's the first thing to go when things are tough is their own professional development. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I hear that because you are not held to account for the
Yes.
quality of your professional development,
Yeah.
but you are held to account in the next book look when you
Sure.
want to see the quality of the marking, or in the next set of results, or whatever it is that has a number attached to an accountability scale. But
Mm.
nobody's checking on you to see if you are reading and
Yeah.
broadening your horizons and just tapping into other worlds through books. No one's checking to see the quality of your sleep. No
Yeah.
one's
That's
checking to see the quality of your lunch. You bring lunch every day, which has got
mm.
5 grams of protein in it, which is going to sustain someone. I mean, even a goldfish needs more than that. And here
Yeah.
you, 6'2", and you've got a lunch that's got 5 grams of protein at best. No one's checking that.
Yeah,
But you've
that's
got
fascinating.
meetings, you're not leaving school till 7 o'clock tonight. On the way home, of course you're going to go through the drive-through McDonald's because you are literally starving
Yeah.
because all you've eaten is a bacon bap,
Yeah.
you know, and you had that 10 hours ago, and it's now 7 o'clock at night, and you're on your way home. Who's cooking? No
Yeah.
one.
And
So, but no one's judging the
no,
quality of that.
I mean, does that speak to the power and the usefulness of like coaching and mentoring?
I think so because a good coach will ask you about the quality of your life, not just of your leadership. And a good coach, you can be frank, honest, direct. You don't have to sugarcoat. I'm not expecting a particular answer from you. I'm expecting you just to use me as a sounding board.
Yeah.
And I will love you and challenge you in the same heartbeat.
Yeah.
I'm asking you that question without judgment. I just want you to have clarity when you give me whatever answer you're going to give me. I'm your
Yeah.
coach.
Okay.
Without that, your coach, you're leading a school as a head, you're leading an organization as CEO. Without a coach, really,
Yeah.
you're a dangerous person.
Yeah. 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 Well, I think that's there we go then. That's the first takeaway for people that we all need to develop the ability to keep our own promises to ourselves. There we go.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's get into this next bit then. So, for those that are new, we talk about things called ignition points, which are events in people's lives that create some sort of transformation, in that they are different because of this. And Dana's chosen two that she's going to talk about today. And the first one is called MPQH Weekend. So tell us a bit about what happened and how it transformed you.
I did my MPQH in 2007. Lovely course, nothing to do with headship whatsoever. It might have changed now, but then it was just this wonderful experience of learning. But no, when it comes to being a head, that weren't it. Right? So I did the course because I was told to go and do the course by my head teacher. I was deputy, fine. About no 3 years later, beginning of 2010, the National College, through whom I did my MBQH, they don't exist now. The National College, they're based in Nottingham, they rang me and said, "Why are you not a head teacher yet?" I didn't even know they had my number.
Wow.
So they were still tracking their cohorts. "Why are you not a head teacher yet?" I'm like, because who would want to go for that kind of job? I mean, why would I put myself? I'm not stupid. And why would I do that? I can make that kind of money doing something else. I'm not going to put myself in that firing line. Can we invite you to MPQH Plus? What's
Okay.
that? It's a weekend where you sit at the feet of current serving head teachers and you can ask any question you like. Myth busting time.
Right.
Are you paid for the weekend? Yes, we'll pay. All right, I'm coming. I sat at the feet of Sir Pritpal Singh, who was the head of Drayton Manor, Paul Kehoe, who was the head of Mount Carmel School in Islington, and another lady whose name I've forgotten now. There's 3 or 4 of them. Down to earth, honest, experienced head teachers. By the end of that weekend, I said, yes, I can do that. Because
Wow.
I asked questions that you cannot ask. So what is this about dealing with unions? You know? What is this about working 15 hours a day? And all this sort of thing. What is this about the buck stops with you? What does that mean? What does that feel like? And they were just able to, this is the reality of headship. Once I had the reality of headship, it was a job, a calling on my life that I said, yes, I will answer that call. I didn't doubt again, because I saw when headship is done well, you don't work all the hour God sends you plus a few more.
Yeah.
You don't do it alone. It is not the loneliest job in the world. It is if you make it so. If you choose that path, don't choose that path. If you choose that path, you're going to be very lonely. You're going to get eczema and your hair will fall out. Don't choose that side of the mountain. Go up the side as a lift rather than walking up, hands and knees. There's a lift on that side. And in that lift, there's coaching, there's mentoring, there's training, there's alliances, there's a full tribe of people, veterans, who will help you. You go up by yourself on that side, crawling up the mountain, hands and knees. Of course you're going to get calluses. Why do it like that?
Mm.
I need to ask people who would be honest with me. Well, how many hours do you work? Paul Kehoe, head of Mount Carmel, North London. 8 till 6 most days.
Yeah.
Unless there's governors or a school play, you got to go. You're the head. Sunday afternoons, 2 hours thinking, bit of reflection. That's it.
Nice.
I'm like,
Sign me
I
up.
knew it's up the road. I knew his school.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, if that's the reality of a headship in London,
Yeah.
right next door to my school, so we're not talking a headship on on the plains of the savannah where it's beautiful and there's lions walking past. London, there's lions, but they bite,
I love it.
That's the reality of a headship in inner London, right next door to me, Islington. I can do that.
Yeah. Well, and that speaks to, the need for authenticity within leadership development, doesn't it? Which I think is something there's a growing there's an upswell at the moment around some of the frustrations around the current leadership development offer, and how it needs to be more authentic. But one of the things that sometimes happens during these podcasts is, of course, it's based on launch pads, but things that the guests say trigger new launch pads in my head. And so the one I just wrote down then was take the lift. Do you know? Just take the lift, which is amazing. All right. Well, there's another takeaway. And of course, I'm sure there'll be tons more. Well, one of the other elements today, as we talked about, is the launch pads, which, if you're watching the video, the book fell off the shelf, which was mildly amusing. I won't pick it up. But effectively what we do is we ask guests to select 2 launch pads from the book that resonated with them. I then briefly talk through them, and then of course the guests, talks a bit about how it resonates with them. So we're going to talk the first one that Dan has chosen, which is there's a bit of a theme today around almost not allowing not allowing yourself to be good by accident, by design. You're intentional, and you can't, you weren't allowed to not be successful. And I think leaders sometimes run the risk of not systematizing things. And so the first one that Dan has chosen is this idea of the ladder of inference. And if you're not familiar with it, it dates back to sort of the 70s and the 90s. And effectively, it's almost a tool for leaders to use when making decisions. And so we'll just go through it, bit by bit about what I was thinking when I made the launch pad. And then again, Diana will build on that. So there's this idea of a ladder. And if you're not watching it, you have to visualize that in your head. And at the bottom of the ladder, there's this sort of data pool. So all the things you could all the information that you have accessible to you. And the idea is that you take a series of steps that make your inferences of that data stronger and stronger. And so it starts off at the bottom, sort of with this idea of observing. And the first question that leaders should have on their minds is, what data should I observe? So if I've got access to all of this stuff, what should I pay attention to? And then, of course, there's something afterwards. So there's sort of questions before the decision, and then questions after the decision linked to each of the rungs. And so before, you'd be thinking, what data should I be looking for? What should I pay attention to? And maybe afterwards, it's, did I look at the right data? The next step up the ladder is called selecting, because, of course, you can pay attention to lots of things, but some will be more relevant than others. So then you've got to make a decision about, okay, well, what data out of that potential data set is the most reliable and valid for the thing that I want to measure? And then, of course, it plays out that, did I select the best data? Then you've got this idea of interpreting. And these steps may be done very quickly, or they may be done at different speeds. There's no sort of, it's not a sequential kind of equal spacing. But the idea then is, once you've selected the data, you're thinking about, what meaning can I find in this data? It goes up to assuming, and for me, this is probably one of the most dangerous steps of the process, because our assumptions are usually unconscious, which again speaks to this idea of maybe a relationship with a coach or a mentor, certainly in an environment where people are courageous enough to tell you the truth. And you're courageous, I suppose, to admit some of your assumptions. Then you get this idea of concluding. So, okay, let's narrow this down then to some actual conclusions. Then you have to almost take a step back a little bit, because you have to think, okay, how are my beliefs affecting this? Because again, whether we like it or not, some of our beliefs are not as conscious as some of the others, and they almost conduct our thinking behind the scenes. And it's not until you shine a light on them that you think, oh, wow, do I really believe that boys are more naughty than girls? And suddenly you're like, oh God, well, I've assumed when I went to that classroom and there was noise that it was the boys. And suddenly you start unpicking where all this stuff comes from, which can be quite an uncomfortable experience if you're not kind of up for it. And at that point, you may need to go back to select some different data, because you may have, without knowing it, been drawn towards certain sets of data because of beliefs or assumptions. And then the final thing naturally is to then, think about the next steps. And so if you're not familiar with the ladder of inference, it's worth kind of Googling and having a look, and maybe giving it a try the next time you make a decision. But have you had any contact with this? Why did it resonate with you, Dana?
Not so much, it resonated because it put into a structure how my brain was working and how my headship kind of progressed. But I hadn't
Right.
seen it laid out like this before. So
Interesting.
when I saw, oh, that's kind of how we were working, but we
Yeah.
didn't know it had this nice formula. And it reminded me of a conversation I had with a guy called Graham Smith. Graham Smith was my school improvement partner from the local authority. And he was big on EAL students, as we used to call them, children who had English as an additional language. He was big on their progress and on what they were doing in school. And he now runs the EAL Academy,
Okay.
really big. And he said, we were in a heads meeting one day, and he said, there are some schools, when you try to make a point, but you don't want to say who's in the room.
Yeah.
There are some schools that don't allow their EAL children to have mediocrity or have mediocre results.
Oh, nice word.
Just leave that there.
Yeah.
I mean, that went down like a bucket of sick, but
I can
I
imagine.
knew that I was one of the schools that did not allow it,
Yes.
because we worked with him to work out, what is it that we think is going on? What are we assuming? What are we inferring? What do we think is happening because the child presents as English as their additional language?
Yeah.
Oh, if you speak louder and slower, they're gonna, no, you're just speaking. If you speak to me in Russian, but speak it loudly and slowly, my understanding doesn't increase in any way, right? But when you're speaking loudly and slowly, there's this assumption that I'm somehow a bit not, I don't understand. I'm a bit silly. I'm a bit thick. No, I'm very bright, but in Somali.
Yeah.
I'm very bright, but in Ukrainian. You
Yeah.
know, doesn't mean I'm not very bright in English. I'm just not very bright with the language yet.
Yeah.
And so because we had hundreds of children throughout the school who had English as an additional language, we couldn't afford to have a deficit model
Right.
for young people. Deficit in our thinking and in our approach. Their data would always be 10%, 20% below average for the first year or so because they didn't speak very good English. So what data are we using? The same data? I mean, come on, you can't use the same data when you know they're starting from a completely different point. You can't. But we did until I said no.
Yeah.
That child doesn't speak English as their first language. They're not thinking in English. You're speaking, he translates that into Romanian. He then tries to translate that back into. No. So the data selection, we said, what did I select as the best? I cannot use that same data to measure that child's progress. I cannot.
Yeah.
But Ofsted will. Well, Ofsted will have to speak to me about that, won't they? When it comes to curriculum. So when they come in, I will show them.
Send them
We
to
will have
me.
a conversation. Exactly. Send them to me. Because let's have a conversation about what's sensible here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that ladder then just showed me the academia behind what we were doing.
Yeah. 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 And that's so great, isn't it? When you organically come across something and then you realize, oh wow, this has some theoretical background, and we just kind of, we got to it. And
Yeah.
I really love that idea. And again, it feels like a message that leaders could send to their staff or to their students that I'm not going to allow you to fail. I'm not going to allow you to not get onto your next step. I love that.
Yeah. I'm not going to allow you to have a version in your mind
Yeah.
of your future that is below what is possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just not gonna I'm not gonna condone that version. If
Yeah.
you're gonna insist on that version, but I'm not gonna condone that. And I will
Amazing.
do everything in my power to get you to see the version of your life that is possible. I'm
Brilliant.
not saying it's easy because you're poor, because you come from that estate, you come from that postcode. So we've got all these barriers we've got to get across. But I can see a version of your life that you can't. I know you're 11.
Yeah.
I'm 53. Trust me. All right? Just trust me. Work with me
Yeah.
and I'll get you there.
Amazing. All right. Well, let's keep moving on then, because this one I'm really interested in. Because as I said at the beginning, I have aspirations to be like in the DO friendship circle, and the second fast.
You're doing a workshop at my conference,
I
March
know.
7th. Got to
So we
participate.
need to publicise that at the end. Yeah. Well, the second fast friends question that Dana chose is, what do you value most in a friendship? So tell us about that.
Straight away, loyalty. I cannot, not even a friendship, in a vague relationship of any kind,
Right.
if I get a whiff that you're not loyal, I cut you off and there's no way back. I'm sorry, I haven't got any emotional intelligence around it. There's no ladder. It's on or off. Sorry, that's it. If I get a whiff, you don't agree with me, that's fine. I don't mind that. You've got different ideas or different ways of doing things. Not a problem, but you're not loyal. You're not loyal? No, 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 no. Because I
Yeah.
can't build. That for me is shaky ground.
Yeah.
I haven't got time to build a structure on a foundation I already know is shaky.
Yeah.
No, if I get a sense that you're disloyal, I'm out.
Wow. And that is really interesting, isn't it? Because I think sometimes, and we've, the theme running through our talk obviously is leadership development, but potentially, I think there's again a little bit of a gap in the current leadership development offer around some of the attributes of good leadership as opposed to some of the logistical. I mean, I know we like the ladder of inference, but it is quite a common thing you'd see on a leadership development program. And yet, if you speak to people in schools and say, describe your best leader, they wouldn't say, they use the ladder of inference so well.
Oh yeah, they did say that. I'm like, oh.
What? That's a bit strange. So that's really interesting. Yeah, loyalty. And how would someone showcase loyalty to you?
I think it comes from this notion. I'm a born again Christian. So there's a notion in Christianity about covering. So even though you've done X wrong, I don't expose you, I cover you. Not cover you to hide what you've done and deceive people, but cover you so I don't expose your shame or expose your vulnerability. So I'm doing this, I'm put you behind me and I cover you. I take the flak and I
Right.
cover you and I deal with you later. But when
Yeah.
it's all kicking off, stand behind me. Miss Osagie will take the flak. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
So because loyalty, if I'm like that in your life as your head teacher, I will stand in front of the parents that are kicking off or whoever or whatever it is. I'll take it, stand behind me. I've got you. I cover you. And you're disloyal behind my back, it's over. Can you
Yeah.
see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you'd show your loyalty, I suppose, by remaining under the covering,
Yeah.
not remaining stagnant. I don't mean that. Under the covering is that here is the excellence that I'm asking for. Here are the frameworks and the ladders and all of that. But if you step out and give it the gossip around the corner,
Yeah.
undermine SLT down here.
Yeah.
So the covering is here, and you step out to undermine it.
Yeah.
I can't. I cannot allow that.
Amazing.
Because I give you all of me.
Yeah.
If you work for me, if you work with me, we're in a school together. I'm the head, and you're head of physics or whatever. I've got you. I've got you. I've got you professionally. I've got you personally. I've got you. I will cover you. I will cover the agendas of your life and help you to excel,
Yeah.
whatever it is. But for that, I need to know that you are loyal to the vision. And my vision for my school was every child a scholar. What, these kids? Yeah, every child. What, the naughty ones? Yeah, every child. What, the SCND ones? Which part of the word every are you struggling with? Every child a scholar. I need you to be loyal to me as we build a school that makes that happen.
I love
And if
it.
you do things that undermine that, I cannot work
No,
with that.
brilliant. Well, there we go. Again, there's a really strong message. And of course, it works both ways, doesn't it? That if a leader is disloyal to their followers, that's equally as bad, and we could get into that. But let's keep moving on because I'm really interested in this second ignition point that was a transformational point for you. And the text you put in the thing was Strike Day. So again, what was the event and why did it change you?
Oh, strike day. My goodness. I'm a new head. I'm 39. So I was a young deputy. I was a young head teacher. Secondary school, North London. I'm 39 years old. Okay. I inherited a deficit That was huge. We were not part of a match. We were a standalone secondary school. So the deficit belonged to us. There was no one to
Yeah.
come and save us from the match entry, right? Mats were just becoming a thing in those days. We weren't a mat. Deficit of coming up to 450k. The next year would have been 600k. We would have had to close because we
Wow.
couldn't. The LA wanted their money back. 10 years that deficit had been there. I become head. We want our money back. Oh, so what happened all those other 10 years, But now Diana's here. They see an opportunity to get their money. How do you get £450,000 of savings in one school? That is not about cutting down on the photocopying, right? That's not about changing supplier from that paper to this paper. That is wholesale redundancies. I had to make 10% of the workforce redundant in 1 year.
Wow.
Every 100 people, 10 are gone. It was something, right? It was a big thing. I'm a new head. I've got MPQH, useless, because there was no strike module in the MPQH. Can I just say, unless you put a module back in there on how to do strike action, MPQH is a waste of time. I'm just saying. There are other things as well, but unless you put back in the module how to deal with these critical points that a head teacher will face, I have my staff up in arms because I'm saying the one thing that they were promised would never happen. There will never be redundancies here, said the previous head, who I loved and adored, but he said this out loud. Along comes Diana. The first thing she does after the first term is redundancies.
Wow.
They went on strike. I mean, it hadn't happened in our school for how many years? Oh my goodness me. I'm a new head. The staff walk out on strike. The unions rise. I said to myself, belong to the union. You need to belong. It's important. It's an important thing. But the flip side of that is they can navigate this kind of action in a quick vote that happens upstairs on the third floor where art is. I've got my whole staff walking out because I'm doing something that has to be done. It becomes personal. They write letters anonymous letters. We, the undersigned, and you can't quite work out who undersigned it. There's all big squiggles, right?
Yeah.
Anonymous letters to the DFES, anonymous letters to Ofsted, anonymous letters to my MP. My MP is Jeremy Corbyn. He rocks up to school. I mean, it was hellish, toxic.
Yeah.
This one on the MPQH. This one on my masters. I've got kids here who need teaching.
Yeah.
By the way, strike day comes. Strike day comes. They're outside with a picket. Proper, go big or go home. They've got a picket. And if you're not striking, you've got to cross the picket. I mean, it was 1970s minus stuff, yeah?
Yeah.
They've got placards. They've been to the art department and made placards. So I made note of the paper they've used. I'm going to charge them for it. Oh, yeah. I can get petty as well. I reckon like that packing paper. It's ours. And, I come to school to work. I've got to cross the picket line outside my school where my staff, whom I've worked with for a decade, I was deputy for 10 years, remember?
Of course you were, yeah.
So I know and I love these people. I am loyal to you. And I've got to cross the picket line to get into my place of work. And staff who couldn't afford to strike are being made to cross this picket line. And TAs who weren't entitled to strike have got to cross this picket line. I was so angry.
Yeah.
I was so angry. And the day happened. SLT, we taught year 11. Carried on. Then I thought, you know what? Every day you go out on strike, I save £15,000 in salaries. Can you do 2 weeks? We've sorted out the deficit. Oh, you're being flippant. I'm not. Look, here's the numbers. They came back to work the next day. Upset me. Just to upset me, they came back to work. That strike solved nothing. Nothing. Because the course of action had to be taken. I wasn't going to change my mind about redundancies because you went out on strike. But the young people who needed their day of education lost it. The morale went through the floor. The toxicity just went through the roof. I mean, it solved nothing. Nothing was quicker or slower, better because of that strike. Nothing. Yet it was taken. And then I began to get these secret knocks on the door. You know those,
Yeah.
have you got a minute when no one's looking? And the ringleaders come into my office one by one, asking for a deal. If you give me so much, I'll go. I'll take voluntary. Chris, we've known each other for a while. What do you think my answer would be? If you give me, I'll go. What? Listeners, viewers, you've known me for about, 45 minutes now.
Yeah.
What do you think I said?
Yeah, I'm not sure you're a bargaining, I don't think that you like being kind of...
I'm not that kind of woman. And I said, hear me now. In fact, you know what? Wait there, because you're all coming in one by one. Let me just say it to the whole staff. So I called a staff meeting up at the theatre, all in there, and I'm on the stage. Let me say this to all of you right now so you know you've heard it from my mouth. I will do no deals with anyone ever. Do you? Can I be clearer than that?
Yeah.
Deathly silence. I will only offer the redundancy that you are entitled to, not a penny more. It's not my money. It belongs to the young people and their future. You are all qualified. Every one of you will get a new job in a heartbeat. This money belongs to the young people whose future is not yet secure unless we get on with our job. So don't anyone come in my office asking for a backroom deal. You're going to be disappointed. And I left the stage. I did a swoosh.
Well, I mean...
Now I might have done things a bit differently. I'm a bit more mellow now. Then I wasn't mellow. I was fiery. I know.
I would have loved to have known you back then.
It's not on the MPQH, my leadership style.
I love it. Well, and of course, there's something for people that are listening, and who have been through strikes. Is they'll agree or disagree, but the things that come through strongly when you talk about this sort of stuff to me is that your anger is towards the people that put you in that situation, and your loyalty is to the kids, and those two kind of perspectives, I think, are useful to have when it comes to things like that.
I mean, some of my staff said to me that it became clear in my mind that some of my staff thought the school budget exists solely to pay their mortgages.
Right.
And I was baffled. You know those things walking around, those small things?
Little things, yeah.
The school budget exists to provide them an education through which I go to you as teacher A, B, or C to do that for them. So yes, I pay your mortgage in return for you delivering the curriculum. I mean, it was though the young people and our whole raison d'etre, our whole reason for existing as a school was devoid from their reason for being in the school.
Yeah. And so,
shocked.
How did it transform you then? Did you notice any differences after that?
We did the whole strike thing. That was through that year. So come the summer now, it's warmer, sports day, things feel better, don't they? We've
Sure.
gone through that. The next September, I remember I'm there. It's, you do your results day stuff, inset day, and what have you. And I remember saying to some of those people who were still there, now what's your plan? For all the toxicity that you made, for all the horrible emails and things that you sent and that you said, you thought I didn't know. I knew. For all the recruiting, the vulnerable staff to your cause and then shoving them under the bus.
Yeah.
And if you step back and, oh, God, why did you say that out loud when Mr. Osagie was there? You told me to say it, pouring tea. For all of that, I'm still the head. You're still head of whatever it is. Now what's your plan?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Miss So. Can we rebuild our bridge, our relationship? Let me think about that. I can be petty. Let me
Oh,
think
man, I
about
can imagine.
it.
Yeah.
Of
All
course,
right.
we
Well,
rebuild,
I mean, I think that, that would be an ignition point for anyone. So that's a useful, and of course that leads nicely into the next launchpad, really, because we do seem to be living in very unsettled times, both in it's just in the world and stuff. And so, this next launchpad came about because I was introduced to a completely new acronym, and of course, in schools we love acronyms.
Oh,
We love an acronym, and I thought, wow, a new one! I could bamboozle some people with this. And it came from business, I think, this idea of VUCA. And I thought, oh, what does VUCA mean? And so I started reading about it, and it was this idea of volatile, unpredictable, complex, and ambiguous. And I thought, oh, yeah, that sounds like a school. I'll have a bit more of a read about this. And I thought to myself, yeah, that's really interesting. How do we prepare leaders for a VUCA world? How do we, like you said earlier, we have to make decisions about the curriculum within leadership development courses. How do we decide what to pick? How do we know what they're going to have to deal with? Well, we don't. And so I started kicking around this idea that are there things that we could develop within leaders that would survive any VUCA-ness? And so I started thinking about, well, I might have some principles that I live by and maybe some habits that even in the most difficult times, I sit back on. I remember like vividly, as an assistant principal being called in to do last minute, cover. You're walking around and someone says, "Oh, Chris, the cover teacher is not here," and they say, can you do it?" And you go in, and of course you have no prep, but you provide a certain level of education because you've got habits. And so anyway, so this would be interesting to see what you think of these. So I started kicking around this idea of if this was the end of the question, as leaders we should always be, would be the sort of sentence stem. This idea that if we could always be curious, even in the most difficult times, would that be useful? If we were always evidence informed, even in the most difficult times, and if we were always intentional, maybe that would help. Then I started thinking about, okay, the best leaders are probably always proactive. They're always thinking ahead and trying to mitigate stuff. We're always clear, and that is clarity, not just in communication, but also we talked a lot today about speaking the truth to people, and even if that means you have to be vulnerable. The consistency thing, I think, is something that's in our control and is something that staff deeply care about. And then the last set I sort of came up with was this idea of being responsive, and I suppose you could interchange that with adaptable. This idea that as leaders, if we are always responding, and actually, interestingly, this only happened yesterday or the day before in some TV show. Somebody said, "We respond, we don't react." And my little 11-year-old said, "Oh, Daddy, that's a nice idea, isn't it?" And I thought, God, yeah, there probably is a difference between reacting and responding. Anyway, another story. And then collaborative and then kind. But is there anything in this, do you think?
I think there is. I think there is. One of the things I always say and I teach is that around that clear one in the center, clarity is a leader's best friend.
Right.
Assumption is your nemesis.
Right.
And there are habits, and there are habits which center around, I'm always asking my organization to be clear on what they are doing. If you are marking that piece of work and your feedback is well done, right?
Yeah.
Tell me where the clarity is for that young person.
Sure.
What did I make? Did I write in a nice pen? Did I put the date in the right place? Which part of this is well done? Yeah. If you order a steak and you say, how do you want it? There are even different kinds of well done,
Sure.
you know? So I need you, leaders, teachers, to be clear. What are the expectations that you're asking the young people to follow? Why?
Yeah.
What happens if they do? What happens if they don't? Because often we just say, if you don't do this, this will happen.
Yeah.
If I do it, what will happen? So when you as head or you as leader, when you push for clarity, you end up doing these things. You end up being curious. You know what? Let's just get some clarity. Why do we do that? I'm
Yes.
being curious.
I like that.
Why why do we have the Christmas play at Christmas?
Yeah.
Because at Christmas, everyone's really tired. And I don't want to go to the school play. And no, the year 11s have got their exams and the mock. It's the wrong time of year.
So funny.
Can we do the school play? We can do Jesus' birthday in February. He won't mind. He won't mind. But why do we always do it when the whole community is absolutely shattered?
So funny.
So I like that there are principles of let's just ask ourselves why. Be
Yeah.
curious.
I wonder,
Yeah.
do you have a sense of what someone would say as the end of this? Diana, as a leader, always ...
She always goes all the way. If I love you, you will know it. I will love you hard. I will love you till you believe how excellent you are. I will absolutely do it. If I'm training you, the same thing. I don't stop until it's finished. If I'm loyal to you, especially as my staff, I'm so loyal. I'm loyal to my staff because I need you to do a job for my young people.
Yeah.
That don't get it twisted, I suppose, the other way. She's loyal and she's loving and she's kind, but don't mistake that for weakness.
Sure.
You'll get a shock. So I am not afraid to sit down and hold up the mirror and say, have a look at yourself.
Yeah.
And I'll stand there because I'm strong and hold it up until you finish looking. That might take 3 meetings. Keep looking. Keep looking. Keep looking, my friend. Can you see the great big mote in your eye? Right. Now then. I'm not afraid because if I see a version of you that is better than what we've got in front of us, why are we settling?
Yeah. And I mean, it shouldn't. I mean, it shouldn't surprise me. I'm sure it was a conscious decision. This kind of word "courageous," which is obviously part of your whole organization. But I always think if someone said to me, "Oh, Chris, how would you end that?" Diana is always, and I'd say courageous for herself, courageous for other people. Brilliant.
It's strange. The organization is called Courageous Leadership. The first book I wrote, Courageous Leadership, and all my courses, they've got that going right way through them. But it's not a word I use to describe myself.
Interesting.
It's how can I say? It's what I am.
Yeah.
It's like what are you? I'm a woman. I don't go over and say I'm a human being with DNA.
Yeah.
That's true. So I'm courageous. That's true. But I don't use that word. I use other words because that's just who I am.
Of course.
It's like saying, who are you? I'm 6 foot tall. Stop saying that. It's true. I
Yeah,
can walk
yeah,
around going, hello, I'm 6 foot tall.
I love it.
So like you said, hello, I'm courageous. I just
Yeah.
don't use that word. It's just
Well,
who I am.
again, one of the, I guess the call to action for leaders listening to this is to maybe think about, linked to that launchpad, do you currently have any principles or habits that you fall back on? Should you try and create some others? And to answer that question, what would other people say that you are always? Now, to finish today's podcast, we've got a final Fast Friends question, which is going to be very interesting. And the question is quite long, so I'll read it out. It says, your house containing everything you own catches fire. After saving your loved ones and pets, you have time to safely make a final dash to save any one item. What would it be, Diana?
Oh, when I saw that, I was like, ah. Okay, let me answer honestly. I wouldn't go back in the house because it's on fire, right?
Right.
So, hello, I ain't going back in.
Yeah.
But the thing that I'd be most upset about, devastated that I'd lost
Yeah.
in the fire, and you're gonna, don't tell no one, right? Don't shh.
Is it like
All you listen, don't tell no one.
10 million listeners?
I know. I would be devastated at losing my years of journals.
Okay.
Does that sound really freaky and just, odd?
No.
Years and years of journals that I've kept, where I've journaled and said things and talks and prayers and things that I've just, just they're personal to me, very personal. There's journals that go back. And I started journaling really when I was deputy head. So you're talking 2000, what are we, 25, a quarter of a century
Wow.
of my handwritten notes, which cannot be replaced.
No.
But my deepest thoughts, my pivot points in my life, my tears and my joys are all in there. And I can't get those back. I've not typed them up. And as I'm thinking about this now, I'm thinking I need to get AI to type them up for me or something. Because that's Diana.
Yeah.
As she's growing and as she's moving forward in life. And I would be devastated to lose those.
Wow.
Yeah, that would hurt.
What a lovely way to finish. And so let's finish by obviously saying thanks to you, but give us a sense of how people can connect with you. So we're on Instagram. We've got a website, courageousleadership.co.uk.
It's the one.
We've got the
Everything's on
book.
there. But I hang out on LinkedIn. That's where I hang out. So type my name in, Diana Osagie, LinkedIn. But also, there are podcasts and all sorts of things there. But literally, Diana at courageousleadership.co.uk. Drop me an email.
Yeah. Love it. And you've got books out on obviously on Amazon and self-published.
On Amazon. So again, type my name into Amazon. They'll all come up. They can all be read in under an hour. I don't write War and Peace.
Yeah.
These are books that will practically help you in your leadership journey.
And give us, we kind of teased people a little bit, but this event next February.
March the 7th.
March.
Courageous Summit. The Powerful Alliances. London, Leonardo Hotel, Tower Bridge. It is going to be off the scale. It's 10 years since I left that headship, started the business, did an executive headship and other things as well, but next year will be 10 years of courageous leadership. So we are going big.
Love it.
Tickets out in September. There's only 350 tickets.
Watch this space. Well, we will put all the links in the chat. If you want to connect with the Leadership Launchpad stuff, again, I hang out on LinkedIn as well, and you can buy the book on Amazon. And so just thanks for everyone for listening, and a massive thanks to Diana. And we'll see you all at the next one.
See you again.